This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. This heat is taking a toll on people both outside and inside. Some buildings, including an apartment block at a school, are without air conditioning. As CBC's Josh Crabb reports, people inside are struggling to stay cool.
And right now, inside, it's 29 degrees.
It's too hot for these children and sweatier than normal in this South Winnipeg school gymnasium. Thermometers showed it's 29 degrees in one part of the gym and 30 in another, amid a heat warning in southern Manitoba. 10-year-old Jack Leach says he feels tired and doesn't want to do much.
I'm just overwhelmed by heat.
The space is used year-round by a childcare centre that has a lease with Bonnycastle School. The temperature inside Friday afternoon was nearly the same as it was outside.
And we've always got the fans going.
Kids are keeping cool with fans and trying to stay hydrated. There's never any air conditioning in the gym. This summer, Cairns Children's Centre Executive Director Tanis Hewitt says the system that usually keeps the rest of the building cool is down and not running. The Manitoba government says it's due for replacement, but that hasn't happened yet.
And we don't know what the time frame for that is. And in the meantime, my children melt.
A portable air conditioning unit has been put in the centre's main space. They're not the only ones waiting for a cooling system to be fixed.
As I said, guys, it's really hot in here.
Kevin Kalita understands how the kids are feeling. A thermometer showed it was more than 30 in his bachelor suite at the St. James Legion Lodge. He's trying to keep cool with cold drinks and fans. The cooling system in the Manitoba housing property is down too.
So it's basically you're cooking in an oven.
A notice posted by the property management company says the chiller's being worked on. Portable AC units have been put in the common room where people can cool down. Little comfort for Kalita, who can't get a good sleep in this extreme heat.
Nobody should be going through this at all.
Hewitt agrees.
One of my parents actually said that to me yesterday. What's it going to take? Am I going to have to bring my kid to the hospital before some action is taken?
The hot temperatures should let up through the weekend, giving people having a difficult time staying cool inside and outside a break from the sweltering heat. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The parents of a Winnipeg woman killed by a drunk driver say they're angry. Charges will not be laid against the passenger in the car who gave the driver his keys back. Jordan Reimer was acting as the designated driver for her friends in May 2022 when she was hit by a drunk driver who blew through 2 stop signs. During a trial last fall, court heard Tyler Goodman was going more than double the speed limit at the time of the crash. He and 2 friends fled the scene. Goodman was sentenced to 7 years in jail. Her parents wanted charges laid against the man who handed the keys to the driver that night, but the province is not going to prosecute him. Her mom says that's a mistake.
It's too late for us. We've lost Jordan. We can't go back and change that. But what we can do with Jordan's memory in this case is save other people's lives by sending a message to the public that accountability extends beyond the driver, that your behavior has consequences, and those consequences will have possible legal ramifications to them.
Crown attorneys met twice to consider 3 possible charges, but say there's no similar case law where criminal liability was found in similar circumstances. The prosecution service says while it might be argued that one of the pastors intentionally assisted the driver to drive impaired or was willfully blind that he did so, the Crown could not prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt based on an examination of all the evidence and alternative reasonable inferences, including the fact the driver owned the vehicle and the passenger himself was intoxicated. A vacant and crumbling warehouse on McDermott Avenue isn't just an annoyance. It's become a hazard for people living in the area. The City of Winnipeg has told some residents they have to leave and the property owner to demolish it. The CBC's Gavin Axelrod has more.
This old building has seen better days. There's boarded up windows, concrete blocks holding up the structure, and bricks have been falling. Now the residents who live in this house here have been asked to evacuate, and that's because, as you can see, they're just steps away from the warehouse and the entire neighborhood has been impacted.
Just this last week, I realized how bad it got. Came back from up north after a week and realized, or they said it was condemned and stuff, and bricks are falling, we hear them at night.
Haley Fitzner lives right behind the warehouse. She says work was being done there in recent weeks, but now it's come to a halt.
I just hope there's a safe way for the city to tear it down. I just want it gone. Like, it's been an eyesore for a long time anyways.
Her wish might soon come true. The city of Winnipeg says in an email a demolition permit has been issued to the property owner and its contractor. They've been ordered to start demolition no later than Monday. As of Friday, it hadn't started. But it's a welcome development for Greg Holland, who has lived across the street for over 2 decades.
That'd be nice.
Fitzner also worries the longer the building stands, the chances of someone getting hurt go up, especially those who are unhoused.
When that's your last option to go somewhere where you think is safe, but it's not safe, it's just a sad reality.
The chair of the city's Property and Development Committee says she's aware of the situation and wants all property owners to maintain their buildings so situations like these don't happen.
That means making their property look good so that they can feel secure and their neighbors can feel secure.
CBC News reached out to the property owner and were transferred to the company's operations manager. They had no comment on the building. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
People in Flin Flon and the surrounding area have been told to get ready to leave their homes on short notice. A wildfire near a stretch of the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border has prompted evacuation warnings in some communities. Residents in Creighton and Dinar Beach in Saskatchewan are also affected. Town officials there have been posting on social media. They say the fire near Creighton is not contained and a fresh air center is being set up for vulnerable people because of the smoke. Fire bans in the area were issued yesterday. A downtown Winnipeg business owner says a new anti-theft initiative should be made permanent. The province announced this week it will continue funding overtime this summer for police officers patrolling the West End, Osborne Village and the Exchange District. Officers have been targeting those areas, which have been hotspots for theft and violence for more than a month. The co-owner of Ashdown Market in the Exchange District says the initiative has made a big impact already.
We're calling on the province to actually make this a permanent thing. I don't think that at this time it makes sense to end it. We're obviously very grateful for the extension, but we believe it should be a permanent fixture. It makes the community way safer. It's a community approach.
Meanwhile, the Retail Council of Canada says this and other measures show the government is taking the problem of retail theft seriously.
There's that sense that regardless of the violence, regardless of the costs associated to theft in stores, it was considered just a petty crime. And what we're understanding now, what the police understand, is that retail crime is interconnected to gangs and guns and often much more complex crime than simply Billy taking a chocolate bar.
The council wants a sustainable approach that's measured in years, not months. Winnipeg police say the initiative has resulted in hundreds of arrests and the recovery of thousands of dollars in stolen goods. Manitoba's first supervised consumption site will open next year in Winnipeg. The province says it will be the first Indigenous-led one in the country, but exactly where and when it will be has yet to be determined. It's a move advocates say can save lives. CBC's Rosanna Hempel has the latest.
Cheers and standing ovations as the province officially announces its partnership with the Aboriginal Health and Wellness Centre of Winnipeg. They've committed to opening Manitoba's first supervised consumption site next year.
It's also significant because this is the first ever Canadian-led, Indigenous-led site ever in Canada.
It'll be a place where people can bring and use their own drugs and access addictions treatment, counseling, healthcare, and get help with housing.
A supervised consumption site saves lives and is well overdue.
Their next big task, finding a location for the site. The center says they're working with a commercial realtor to secure a location west of Main Street.
The exemption form 56-1, that takes about 4 months to get that approved. And in order for us to do that and make 2025 possible, it means that we need to find a site in the next 3 to 4 months.
Joseph Forey isn't convinced a supervised consumption site is the answer to the drug crisis. He says he was introduced to heroin at a site in Edmonton, but he's encouraged the one in Winnipeg will include wraparound supports.
If they have the proper safeguards in place so that they don't perpetuate the problem.
Forey's son died of fentanyl poisoning last year. He says his son was not a chronic drug user and doesn't think a safe consumption site would have saved him. For Cody Guimond, a site is needed now. She's experienced homelessness and many overdoses.
I have lost way too many friends. A lot.
The province is pledging $727,000 to help Aboriginal Health and Wellness find a location, hire staff, and operate the site. It's part of $2.5 million already put aside in the provincial budget. Next, it says collaboration and consultation need to happen with the community, police, and shared health, so the long-awaited vision works. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A 9-hole golf course, brand new campground, and pickerel cheeks are on the menu. The Manitoba Métis Federation held a grand opening for its Lake Manitoba resort yesterday in St. Laurent. The 180-site campground has direct water and sewer hookup for RVs, and the indoor and outdoor dining area can seat up to 158 people. It's also surrounded by green space. Richard Chartrand is Reeve of the Rural Municipality of St. Laurent.
The people from the municipality, tourists as well, were continually asking if there was an opportunity for a golf course to be developed, and the MMF did step up and presented it. And we look forward to working with the MMF again in the future.
The resort is a result of a more than $3 million investment. The campground is taking bookings already, and visitors should be able to camp by fall. Well, if the gorgeous weather we've had, it's making you feel like getting outdoors and maybe enjoying the province, there's a way to make that happen. Starting Monday, entrance fees for Manitoba's provincial parks will be waived for 1 week. That means vehicles won't require a permit to enter. Camping fees still apply, and it does not include national parks. So if you haven't had a chance to get out and enjoy our beautiful parks, well, now's your chance. Well, speaking of getting outside, weather specialist Riley Laychuk has ditched me here in the studio today to get up to that beautiful rooftop. And Riley, I see the short sleeves. It must be scorching up there right now.
It's hot, it's sticky. I've got the water with me up here as well, Brittany. But you know what, I'll tell you, there's a really nice breeze up here on the rooftop, 5 stories above Portage Avenue. That breeze not all that bad up here, considering that the temperature right now is 31 degrees. Looking at that current temperature right now, south winds at 24 at the moment. The pressure is falling, and we really have seen temperatures dancing around that 30-degree mark throughout the afternoon here in southern Manitoba. Albeit that breeze is cutting down the humidity a little bit, so making it feel maybe not as humid as it is, but certainly it's a sticky one. 29 in Gimli right now, 27 in Swan River, 21 in Thompson. We're starting to see that ridge of high pressure starting to erode a little bit, and that's allowing some of that cooler air to sink into northern Manitoba, and also bringing a little bit of instability along with it as well. Temperature right now feeling like 40 in Winnipeg and Portage, 39 in Brandon, and closer to 35 into northwestern Ontario. So the heat warning still in place for southern and central Manitoba. I think as we get into the overnight period tonight, and certainly by morning, we'll see this start to drop off a little bit because we'll dip below that heat warning criteria here in the south. Not to say that it won't be hot or humid, but we'll just be a little bit below that threshold for warning criteria. Also have that air quality statement in place for Flin Flon, the Paw, Lynn Lake into the northwestern corner of Manitoba because of that wildfire smoke that has been moving through the northern prairie provinces from northern Alberta. And a severe thunderstorm watch as well in place for Flin Flon, Lynn Lake into that northwestern corner again, as well as into northwestern Ontario. Still could see a few pockets of severe weather as we head into the evening hours here tonight. Most of that has fizzled out as it's crossed the border into northwestern Ontario, but still some powerful storms kind of east of Red Lake, north of the Dryden region. Expect expect skies to remain clear for the most part through the evening. Tonight we're looking at sunny skies, partly cloudy skies by the time we hit, say, 11, 12 o'clock. But you can see on the screen there in sort of the bottom left corner, a little more instability begins to move in as we get into the overnight period tonight. This brings us a risk of some thunderstorms. I think a fairly weak risk of thunderstorms, but the potential there that we could see a few more rumbles of thunder overnight tonight. Saturday, a mainly sunny day for the most part, albeit not as warm as we start to see that ridge of high pressure begin to erode a little bit. The potential again for some instability early Sunday, but it's not till we get into Monday that we see our best chance for showers as we start to see our flow kind of changing around here, and we see a more cooler and a little more unsettled flow move in as we get into Monday. So expect a bit of a wet one and a bit of a cooler one on Monday, but certainly perhaps maybe welcomed after some of this heat that we've seen. So looking at the upper level atmosphere, you can really see that ridge start to erode through into the early part of Monday. That cooler air from Hudson Bay really sinking south even into the Dakotas as we head as far as the later part of Wednesday. Quick look at some of your afternoon temperatures for tomorrow, looking at 26s and 27s. I think we've got a shot at 29 degrees here in Winnipeg tomorrow. Risk of thunderstorms, Brittany, as we head into Tuesday, into Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday, we get sunshine once again, and we're looking at temperatures long range warming up again, Brittany, as we get into the later part of next week.
Well, we need people to keep lots of sunscreen and water around them this weekend.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Riley. Well, a food festival being held Saturday in Brandon is much more than just a gathering of food trucks. Taste of Brandon 2024 is a labor of love that pulled one family together from as far away as the Philippines. They're a Filipino family with 7 grown siblings, 3 of whom now live in Brandon. The 4 sisters in the family have organized the festival, as well as a talent show. At least 6 members flew in to help, some of which came all the way from, you guessed it, the Philippines. Lovelia Azazelda is one of 3 siblings who live in Brandon and owns a bubble tea shop.
Because we've been doing this in other places too, and we really find it really interesting and fun, and we're just having fun here. So that's why we want to do it ourselves, and this is really a great opportunity for us to create an event that celebrates our local community.
The Taste of Brandon Festival opens tomorrow from noon to 9. More than a dozen food trucks are participating, and other fun activities are in store. Coming up, we visit a Transcona front yard garden which harnesses the power of a sump pump to water perennials, herbs, and vegetables. Stay with us. A Transcona woman wanted to flip the script on front yard gardening. Last year, Colleen Holloway put down rocks and buried some weeping tile pipes in her front yard. She's now using water from her sump pump to water her garden. CBC Manitoba community reporter Shanalee Vidal checked it out.
If you make something that was too manicured, I think it would stress me out. So I wanted it to have kind of a rustic look and have things that were kind of placed in kind of random places, but still look like it had some sort of a design to it. And learn as I went and be forgiving. And every boat needs a name, every garden needs a name. And so I've named my garden Sadie's View. There's a little animal named Sadie, and she sits in that front window and she looks at this garden all day long. Red poppies is because my dog's collar is red, so that's the color she wears. And then the lamb's ears are as soft as velvet, and whenever I rub my dog's ears, that's what it reminds me of. I just kind of made it kind of shot from the hip on it. It was just something I whiteboarded out in January when it's -30 and you can't garden. So I thought, let's plan, and kind of sketched it out and thought, let's go for something kind of ish this shape, and just kind of went with it. I was looking at something that could have a bit of a shape that would kind of flow with the front yard, and then give me kind of quadrants and areas so I'd remember what I planted where. So this is chocolate mint that has come back over the winter. Here is oregano that's coming to flower. This will be covered in bees. That is kitchen sage. That's sage that you use when you're making your turkey stuffing. And it's in my front yard and it's flowering, and all these flowers are edible and they smell amazing. And I found a way to plug in my sump pump outlet hose into the garden, and every time it runs, it waters the garden from underneath with that amazing groundwater. It's saturating that soil underneath, and all these plants and their roots are picking it up. And I probably had 100 pounds of tomatoes come out of this front yard last year alone, off of 2 plants.
What are the bowls for?
I wanted, this is a garden that's able to feed me and feed the bees, but it's also a way to give birds a drink and bees a drink. So we have a great blend here of fantastic flowers and fantastic veggies. So we have a yellow zucchini plant, we have San Lorenzo tomatoes, we have poppies that are growing here that are just gigantic this year. We have dill that had self-seeded itself that came back. This is a 5-foot-tall dill plant. And then kind of surrounding me on other sides, we have celery, you have onions, you have eggplants, you have hot peppers. I think a lot of us hide in our backyards and we don't come out to the front yard as often. And I was finding a reason to talk to neighbors that I hadn't met in years. And so it was amazing to have them say, you're growing veggies in your front yard. How is that working for you? To me, it's growing a sense of this neighborhood already. But I'm already starting to see a bit more front yard gardening action that's happening around the neighborhood. And I hope it's a neat trend that everybody kind of looks at and finds a way to bring veggies and flowers from the backyard out to the front yard.
Well, still to come, I'll have a look at your beach conditions. Maybe you're taking advantage of the hot weather this weekend, plus your 7-day forecast and a bit of rain when we come back after the break. Well, as promised, if you're looking for a good beach weekend, I think I may have some good news for you. Let's have a look at that beach cast for the weekend. And, you know, I know we did talk about some concerns about E. coli, particularly at Albert Beach earlier in the week. Those have now kind of come back into more normal and more acceptable ranges. So the east side of Lake Winnipeg, 23 tomorrow, risk of a morning thunderstorm, 26 in the afternoon for the west side of the lake, 29 in Winnipeg tomorrow for both Saturday and Sunday with the risk of thunderstorms. Showers rolling through for Monday, and then we start to see our temperatures really on the upswing again, up to 28 for Thursday and 29 for Friday. And look at who I've brought up with me.
You look like you were having too much fun up here. I was a little lonely in the studio, but you weren't joking about the wind. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But it is nice up here.
It is nice up here. I personally really like the breeze up here. It is a bit windy, but the breeze is really cutting down the humidity a bit. So
I feel like I needed to put my hair up.
Yeah.
But you know what? This isn't so bad. It's what people are going to be experiencing. And you know what?
Yeah.
I feel like our studio is actually warmer right
exactly.
now than it is up here. But it is a good reminder this weekend, regardless of if you're at Folk Fest or just outside, find some shade, find some water.
Lots of water this
a little
weekend.
bit, especially for those animals too.
Yes. If you're going out for a dog walk, for example, early in the morning would be the best time to do that, because that pavement, those sidewalks can get really hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see
you
you
again on
Monday.
Monday.